So if there's a couple of things that you've probably noticed, it's difficult to say no to Jane because she's called us all and asked us to participate. And when I got my call from her, and she said that she wanted me to consider speaking about irresistible companies, and I said, Jane, I don't even really know what that means. And she said, well, what's on your mind? And I said, body piercing, tattooing, gender-neutral bathrooms, and hair color. And I said, so unless that fits the bill, I don't know if I can participate. She goes, Richard, that's perfect. It's exactly what I want you to talk about. So I will weave that into a little bit of my, my talk today, because that is what I'm working with or looking to address with our staff, and that's sort of one of the many topics about the tsunami of change. So I started the works, originally called Bagel Works, in 1988 here in Vermont, in Manchester, Vermont, just as the bagels became hot and trendy, and rode that wave for a while. Changed in early 2000s, dropped bagel because it was the trend right then of low carb. And now we're in the gluten-free trend. And so, you know, it's just been amazing in a 30-year run to see how quickly both food trends change, how quickly cultural changes change, and how important it is to stay ahead of the business. So some things that we've done to try to do that is work on our benefits over the 30-year history that we've had in the company, and I'll kind of try to hit a couple bullet points of what we thought was important back then and what we believe may or may not be important today. What we've done a little bit with the business to try to stay ahead of changes in terms of food, technology, and a couple of others. Because again, in my mind, what we're hoping to send anybody home with is a couple of nuggets where we can think about how to retain and attract key employees. Name change, we've had that. Ingredient changes and menu changes, we've had that. The way that we operate our cafes, we have 7 company-owned cafes and 1 franchise cafe through northern New England, and about 150 staff members. So we've had to change the way that we are using equipment as well to increase output in hopes to raise volume in the cafes and provide more livable wages. It's important to realize that in the food business, a turnover rate is, a good turnover rate is around 100%. And bad turnover rate in the fast food business is 300%. So, and it doesn't need to be said often enough that hardly anybody makes a livable wage in the food business. So I've spent my entire career in a business that doesn't provide livable wages, and I'm now 40+ years in this industry. On many levels, something not to be proud of, and so we need to figure out how we've been able to make positive impact on that. I'm happy to let you know that we are, that almost all of our cafes are sub 100%. And they're really broken down, our staff, about half of our staff's full-time and half's part-time. And the half that are part-time, these are mostly first entry workers. They're either high school or college, and really just there as a chapter in their life. And so how we approach them, how we attract them, and how we motivate them is different than the other half of the workforce that are management and shift leaders and that are making a livable wage with us. So what do we do and what have we done? Recently, what we've been trying to do is to engage with a lot more of the technology out there. And as Rob had said, we've really worked hard on trying to market ourselves better in bringing people in. I think that's quite important, and often we don't think about it. We just list the job as, you know, I'm looking for a sandwich artist, or I'm looking for you know, a rock star prep person, or a baker that'll get up at, you know, that loves getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning, versus sort of telling folks before they even entered who we are, that we want to provide healthy food, that we want to be low impact in an industry that is the highest impact in terms of a carbon footprint, dumpsters, energy. I mean, restaurant industries are the highest impact in the retail industry. So we want to let them know that it's important for us to positively impact that, you know, be low impact. And so we've done that through a bunch of different ways. The way that we list our jobs, our corporate LinkedIn page. We didn't even have a corporate LinkedIn page until a year ago. some of the tools that we're using, whether it's ZipRecruiter, Snagajob. We recently implemented TalentReef as an HR software company to help us onboard staff, do 360 reviews, have staff be able to communicate with each other. We have another app that we're using, SimSim, which allows staff members to change shifts within each other, communicate within each other, and do reviews with each other. All important. I'll lead back to the millenniums that we're working with now. You know, a lot of them want to apply on their mobile app. And we used to, you know, we were old school. You had to come in and pick up the application, and hopefully you had the pen and you dressed right that we were willing to sit down and give you an interview. A lot of our staff, they don't even interact that way anymore. They just want to be able to, you know, apply online, download it right in, onboard online, and you know, fill out all their. That's just the way they communicate now. So we had to either get on board or be left at the station. It was important for us to realize benefits that we were offering, and you know, we offered health insurance from day one, and you know, all these other benefits. But for that particular workforce, I'm talking about these part-time millenniums that are high school and college. They don't really care about vacation time because they may not be with us long enough. They may not care about health insurance. What they care about is how they're treated, certainly. College tuition and book money, if some of them are struggling to pay for those. So we have a college tuition scholarship that we're now offering, and that comes through the organization, meaning they submit who the recipient should be from each different cafe. There's a group that picks them, and we don't give a full tuition, but we give $2,000 to go towards the tuition or books or anything else on that like that. We have Road Trip Nation. It's a subscription that we give to all staff members. Road Trip Nation is a software that works on career building. It works on blogging amongst their peers, and so there's also other parts that if people are doing road trips around the country, they can blog on how that is, and you know, that's essentially what's important to a 16 to 22-year-old, not the 30 to 50-year-olds. So organic T-shirts, interest-free loans, probably the biggest benefit that we provide. Sad but true. That we offer interest-free loans, and taken up on it more often than any other benefit. We have the WITS program, which is Well, I Thought of Something, and these are all cultural small things that we're trying to do to kind of bring in input from folks. They get paid to come up with incentives and come up with ideas that we roll out corporately, and there's a whole host of them that we've done. We offer 3 weeks paid vacation. And a whole host of other things. So when I talked to Jane and I wanted to know whether I was really worthy of standing up and talking about it, right now what we are addressing with our company is dress code policies and whether we are progressive or not. And currently our policies are fairly rigid around body piercing, tattooing, hair color, and overall appearance when you walk into a cafe. We have 20,000 customers that go through our cafes every single week, and we are making an impact, positively or negative, on every moment, every memory when they order food and when they get food from us. And we felt like it needed to be fairly rigid at one point, and what drove that was years ago we didn't have a policy, and we had some facial tattooing that was went from the chin, and then there was a body piercing that went from the lip down to their chest. And at that point, I was like, wow, that's a little bit over the top, and we may need to look at this. And a founder or a CEO is definitely not the most important, but they can be the most influential, and they can help create policies. And so We also use Monkey Survey right now to do a lot of surveying of our staff, and we benchmark the exact same questions, and we add new questions that come up from in the year that our staff is feeling are quite important. This year, our policies around tattooing, body piercing, and hair color, and gender-neutral bathrooms were really important to them. And so we were looking at that as a company and looking at what's that mean to this generation? What are we willing to implement in policy changes? And I'm really open to feedback here about that. And what our new dress code policy will look like in the next 10 years. They're submitting the language and changes that we should consider. And there's a group of employees that will make the final decision. Almost out of my comfort zone, to be honest with you, because our comfort zone was fairly GQ, hat, worn in the right direction, organic T-shirt tucked into the apron, and khaki pants and jeans. We were really specific about grunge pants and skirts being too short or tight yoga pants. And so if you read our dress code policy today, it's all of or it's none of those. And I would imagine, I'm envisioning that in 2018 it'll certainly be opened up quite a bit. And so not easy to do for me to do, but I think important if you ask the question through a survey that you're open to change that you hear. And if not, you shouldn't ask the question. So that's my 10 minutes, right? Good.